Imagine you're a parent, cradling your newborn in your arms. You're overwhelmed with love, and along with that love comes an enormous sense of responsibility. A letter arrives from your pediatrician. Time for your baby's first round of vaccines. You don't think twice. You want to protect your child. Fast forward a few years, and suddenly headlines are screaming at you from every TV screen, newspaper, and online forum. Vaccines linked to autism. Panic sets in. Could you have risked altering your child's entire life by trying to safeguard their health? In the late 1990s, parents faced a decision that suddenly seemed fraught with risk: to vaccinate their children or not. At the center of this controversy was Andrew Wakefield, a British surgeon with a research paper that lit the fuse of vaccine skepticism. But who was Andrew Wakefield, and why did his findings generate such chaos? This documentary will pull back the curtain on the man whose name might not be familiar, but whose controversial study led to one of the most significant public health crises of modern times. From doctors questioning long-established protocols to parents agonizing over the well-being of their children, Wakefield's influence has been undeniably powerful and devastatingly harmful. How could one man's research cast a shadow of doubt over established science and the well-being of millions? Before Andrew Wakefield entered the scene, the concept of vaccination was almost like a societal rite of passage. Imagine school hallways buzzing with children, parents in line at health clinics, all participating in a shared belief that vaccines were the shield against deadly diseases. Polio, measles, mumps, diseases that once haunted our grandparents were pushed back into the corners of history books. It was simple. You got your shots, you were protected, and life went on. Vaccines were not just accepted, they were trusted. This communal faith in inoculation set the stage for what would become one of the most unsettling disruptions in medical history. Born in Britain, Andrew Wakefield was a rising star in the medical world. A trained surgeon who later specialized in gastrointestinal research, he seemed destined to make a positive impact on medicine. He was a dedicated researcher, nose always buried in medical journals, aiming to answer the questions many shied away from. He garnered respect from colleagues and found his niche at the Royal Free Hospital in London. There was nothing extraordinary or alarming about him. He was, by all accounts, a competent and ambitious professional. But ambition can be a double-edged sword. As Wakefield settled into his role, he took on a study that would be less about medical advancement and more about a Pandora's box he was about to unwittingly, or perhaps knowingly, open. But it wasn't just a study. It was a match that would light a firestorm affecting millions. It all started with a paper in a well-regarded medical journal. In 1998, the medical journal The Lancet published a paper that would radically change the conversation around vaccines. Andrew Wakefield and his team claimed to have found a connection between the MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, rubella, and autism in children. Wakefield's study included just 12 children, but made bold claims. He suggested that the vaccine led to intestinal issues, which in turn triggered autism. A direct assault on a cornerstone of public health, the study didn't just raise eyebrows, it raised alarms. Parents held their breath and clutched their children's vaccination records, contemplating whether they had inadvertently harmed their own flesh and blood. Within no time, media outlets caught wind of this story and magnified it 100-fold. Headlines didn't ask questions, they pointed fingers, shaking the public's trust to its core. What was once a routine jab of a needle was now fraught with questions, fears, and undeniable panic. You could almost feel the dominoes falling. One by one, pediatricians' offices turned into battlegrounds of debate. Was the MMR vaccine safe? Could it cause autism? Doctors found themselves cornered, fielding questions they had never anticipated. But it wasn't just a debate. Actions spoke louder than words. Vaccination rates plummeted. Parents, gripped by fear and uncertainty, held off from that pivotal doctor's appointment. And then the unthinkable happened. Measles, a disease once nearly eradicated, made a menacing comeback. Emily, a young mother who, upon hearing about Wakefield's study, decided not to vaccinate her toddler. She thought she was making a responsible choice. Months later, her community faced a measles outbreak, and her unvaccinated child became seriously ill. Emily's story wasn't an isolated event. It was echoing across countries. Hospital wards started filling up, not just with children, but also with regrets. Regrets from parents who felt they'd been played. Regrets from communities who realized they'd let down their guard. The gravity of the situation became clear when public health officials rang the alarm bells. Herd immunity was at risk, and diseases we thought were history were threatening to rewrite our future. The snowball had grown into an avalanche, and it wasn't just rolling, it was crashing through public health safeguards. In the eye of this storm stood Andrew Wakefield, his claims scrutinized and debated. But as people started to dig deeper, cracks began to show. Other scientists tried to replicate Wakefield's findings, using larger sample sizes and more robust methods. They found nothing, no link between the MMR vaccine and autism. The medical community raised a collective eyebrow. Had Wakefield misled everyone? The answer came from investigative journalists and medical boards that decided to take a closer look. They unearthed financial conflicts of interest and methodological errors so significant they were impossible to ignore. The integrity of Wakefield's research started crumbling. Wakefield faced professional hearings and evidence stacked against him. Then came the verdict that echoed around the world. The Lancet fully retracted Wakefield's paper, and he was stripped of his medical license. The fallout was immediate and immense. Public apologies were made, but the damage was done. A study that took months to publish had caused years of havoc. Doubt had seeped into the public conscience, and cleaning up that spill was not going to be a quick mop-up job. The Andrew Wakefield saga serves as a cautionary tale about the potency of misinformation and the fragility of public trust. It's like a wildfire. Once it starts, it doesn't discriminate, leaving both the informed and the uninformed in its wake. So what can we take away from this? First, the importance of scientific integrity can't be overstated. One flawed study caused a crisis that experts are still trying to untangle. Second, we've learned that public opinion can shift dramatically and dangerously when misinformation is amplified. A single voice can echo louder than a chorus of experts if it strikes the right emotional chord. Lastly, the case exemplifies the crucial role of journalism and peer review in holding science accountable. But this isn't just a story of mistakes made. It's a story of resilience. Communities, doctors, and even Emily, who we mentioned earlier, have become advocates for vaccines, sharing their stories to combat the legacy of Wakefield's deceit. Stripped of his medical license, Wakefield could have faded into obscurity. But instead, he found a second act in the United States. Landing in Texas, he turned into a sort of anti-vaccine celebrity, a speaker at conferences and the director of documentaries that peddle the very claims debunked years ago. It's a paradox. The man whose work caused an upheaval is still out there, microphone in hand, gathering an audience willing to listen. The Wakefield saga is a living, evolving story, fueling debates to this very day.